sometimes you ask yourself, are you successful?
You're in exactly the spot you need to be when you're there, as long as you prepare for it.
As long as you prepare.
I always say it's like, be careful what you ask for, and then when you are asking for it, just make sure you're ready, because that opportunity is going to go by, and somebody else can be like, I got it. Mm-hmm. Oops, if you don't get it.
Success.
Hi, thanks for tuning in for Success MN. This is a local Minnesota podcast talking about people who have become successful in their own line of work, whether they've started their own business, had a side hustle, or just been highly successful at their W-2 job. And here we are connecting people. Tune in, see who's on board today. Stokely Williams. Thank you so much for coming here. Stokely is a local legend. He has been a recording artist for years, decades, and he's had some pretty major stars that he's worked with before. And we are just so honored to have him here as part of our show. And I'm really excited to hear more about like how your work has evolved over the years. And I just want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you, Melissa. Thank you for having me.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Lovely being here with you.
Uh-huh.
It's always great to be places here at home and support people, what they're doing, just as I've been supported over the years. So
yeah, I appreciate it, and that's a big part of the game. Is like, I mean, we feel so lucky that once you get to a certain level, you're still willing to reach back and help people up.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely,
that's huge.
That's everything. That's how we all end up doing anything, right? Somebody has to help.
Somebody has to. I mean, some people probably do it on their own, but I doubt it.
No, even if it looks like nobody does it on their own. It's like you need people. That's what life is. Life is about people.
Yeah. So let's go back to the beginning. Who helped you?
Well, I was a little tiny lad who, as I was always, I guess I must have had a drum in my heart, because that's where it started, heartbeat. And my parents, both educators, who saw this talent, I was beating on stuff, pots and pans, of course, as kids do, they hear.
Making messes.
Yeah, making messes, or hearing a drum and bugle corps, down the street, and you just captivated by that. And so they saw that I had this interest, or, maybe a talent, but couldn't tell, because it's like, well, it's my son. I don't want to be, maybe I'm biased. So, very young, I was beating on some bongos or whatever that my parents went to Africa. They went to Ghana at the time, like very, a long time ago. And so they had these antique bongos, and I was sitting there, doing whatever. It sounded like some patterns, what my father says. And he had a friend that had a group. They had this kind of like folkloric, African dance troupe, like, with the dancers and the whole nine. And called them over. He was from a guy from Panama. And came over to hearing me. He's like, the guy's good. I'll take him with me.
What?
Okay, yeah. I was 4,
Let me take your child.
Yeah, take him with me. So that's what it was back then. It was kind of like more community, really very communal, and everybody was just kind of trying to help, know. And so I had my first public gig. And it was the first National Bank of Minneapolis at the time. I was standing on top of this steel folding chair, and the caption, I still have it, tiny, big drum, tiny drummer was the caption. Yeah. And then that's where it began, So
you started a whole dance party, 4 years old.
Dance party. Yeah, I was part of this collective, this African, like I said, folkloric, traditional African, dances and, all these rhythms that I learned very young. And went on to another troupe, because at that time there were a lot of poets and, a lot of people who were interested in, at that time, Black civil rights movements, or there are all these things that were happening, bringing people together and cultures together, and wanting to feel that pride and everything. So I was always playing for poets and everything. I was very young, I didn't know I was getting all this education. It was just fun for me. I loved being around it and doing it.
It probably didn't even feel like education.
Yeah, it was around you, and we had this place called the Inner City Youth League, right in the neighborhood. And this had everything from martial arts to you had boxing there, you had a recording studio there, You had arts and crafts. I mean, everything for kids to go and just learn.
A recording studio.
They have recording studios.
For little kids.
Yeah. For everybody. I was young at that time. I didn't really know what that was. It was, but I was more so interested in, like the karate and, jujitsu and, I was in the painting class and kind of stuff. So I was just stimulated by all these things, you know what I mean? And so that was the very beginning of really what kind of helped, shape me, and lit that fire, So my parents are the ones who really saw that early and got on, it's like, they're definitely, being advocates of like, you see something in a child that they really take to, try to develop that, see, bring it around them and see what happens. And it just kind of grew from there.
Yeah. You're so lucky to have that support.
Yeah, absolutely. We need that kind of thing. Whether it's your parents or a mentor or a teacher or somebody, that's always the case, where, a kid might not be motivated too much, in academics or anything else, but I think if you bring them around, there might be that one teacher that speaks to them a certain way. It's like, wow, I don't like this class, but I like the teacher, which makes you like the class, you know what I mean? Or makes you like the subject more. So it is a big difference, when you kind of, somebody lights that fire. And I had, besides my parents, I had a few different mentors and people throughout my life who, different stages who stood in for that,
So you were in was it a Panama? Like that?
Well, it was a West African dance troupe. He was from Panama, but they had all kinds of dancers. I was just fascinated by that. And then like I said, I got in this other troupe of drummers and chants and poets. And then there was another dance group, African dance group called Uchawi Dancers. We used to play out at the Renaissance Festival.
Okay, yeah.
That was so much fun. That was so much fun, and we used to go out there. The big act was It was two comedians, but they would dress the part. They were called Puke and Snot.
I was gonna say it's Snot and Puke. I think they're still there.
Are they still there? Oh,
I think so.
Yeah, they've been there a long time.
A long time.
I don't know if it's the same people or if the people play that.
Yeah.
The act, but yeah.
Have you been there recently?
I haven't. It's been a while. It's been a while.
I mean, it's still good. I'm sure it's very similar,
yeah.
but
the food and the little yogurt thing. They had the big old turkey drumsticks.
The turkey drumsticks.
So when I was very familiar with all those foods and everything because I was the youngest in the group and I was the last person to join, so I was the rookie. So they would have this thing called Rookie Run. So anytime anybody wanted anything, Rookie Run, that'd be me. I'd have to go get a tray and I'd go, we want yogurt. No, I want to jump. So I'd have all this stuff come back, to the trailer and back. And it was that was my initiation, So
those the Renaissance Fair gets pretty wild, for all the people that work there.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy, but a lot of fun. It was a great moment for me,
How old were you in that phase?
At that phase, I was probably about 11, maybe.
Oh my God, that's really young to be at the Renaissance Fair.
I know, yeah.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
Okay. Dance troupe, Renaissance Fair.
Renaissance Fair. So from there, let's see, there was various things. So I met another pivotal point, probably a couple of years after that, 12, 13. I was still in school doing my stuff, I discovered trap drums. So they got me an actual, drum set at the time. I just had bongos at the time, and it's maybe 12, 13.
Okay.
They might have got one for Christmas. I remember that.
I'm sure there was overlap. Your parents seemed like they immersed you in everything.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So got that, and I started just discovering, that whole thing. And around 13 or 14, I met, a big mentor. I call him my second father. He's rest in peace now. He's gone on to glory. A guy named Cliff Alexis Sr. So there was this program called T-City, it stood for Twin City Institute for Talented Youth. And it was at McAllister College that was held. And I was a year younger than what I got in a year earlier than what I should have, but my father knew the guy there. And so a steel orchestra was there, a steel band, a big orchestra. And I was like, this guy was from Trinidad, Tobago. He was a very, he's my mentor, Cliff Alexis, was a guy he was one of the first groups to leave Trinidad to go play for the Queen of England. So, I mean, he was world-renowned, composer, conductor. He made the steel pans and
Wow.
tuned them, and for a lot of colleges around the world, whether it be in, Denmark or, Japan, all these places and spaces. I mean, you ask anybody in the steel pan world, they know this guy. So,
Wow.
and he was right here in the Twin Cities. So I was in that program,
Uh-huh.
and that was the year I was about to go into, I think, ninth grade. So he was going to be teaching at St. Paul Central
Okay.
High School, which is where I attended.
Yeah.
And so St. Paul Central, that, ushers us into that whole world where they had something called the Magnet Arts Program.
Mm-hmm.
And what that was, they had a recording studio there.
Okay.
They had something called acting, music, and junk. So that was the actors thing. It was basically like you've seen, I don't know if I'm dating myself now, it was a show called Fame back in the day.
Yep.
So that school was the LaGuardia Center for the Arts, in New York. So this St. Paul Central was like that. It was
Okay.
pretty much kind of like a performing arts without saying it was a magnet arts school. That a few other schools would come there for like half of the day or something like that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And
we're
I'm
kind
sure
of-
there was like qualifications to get in.
Yes.
So it's like the best of the best in the
yeah,
cities.
yeah. And public school. I mean, St. Paul Central
Yeah.
was amazing at the time. I mean, I think that was the pinnacle in my eyes. I mean,
Yeah,
somebody
of course
in
it
my eyes.
Of course it was.
Yeah, so, but there was I hear other people come out, it's like, it wasn't like that. Students not there anymore, other things missing. Really great teachers. So
I mean, school is what you make of it, too.
it's what you make of it. And again, Caliph Alexis was one of these people whom not only me, but a lot of the students loved because he was like really real. I mean, he'd cuss at you and everything. He'd be, and then tell you, go get your parents, as I'm sure, you guys are doing a lot worse than than what your parents think, So there were a lot of troubled youth that would code him. So he was kind of like a counselor, but we all loved his class. And he had a way of teaching you that was just electric. It was magnetic. So I was in concert band. I was in the steel drum orchestra.
So you can play steel drum, too?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite instruments, actually.
Cool.
Yeah, steel pan.
Wow.
And so what happened was the concert band director would come down and ask, "Well, how are you teaching?" Because we were playing not only like the latest of the day, like Stevie Wonder, but we were also playing like Tchaikovsky, Bach, Brahms, Rachmaninoff, all these classical, really elegant, compositions, as well as whatever was out at the time. So
Right.
it was we were genre building all over,
Yeah.
bending all over the place.
And you need that. You need that different exposure to,
Yeah.
like, see what you like.
Absolutely, But it was really just electric for us kids and everything. It just turned us on. So he was one of these people who we just loved him. You know what I mean? So he ended up being, till the time he passed, I'd always just stay in touch with him in contact, and
Yeah.
he's always wondering what I'm doing and that kind of thing. So he really helped me. If I was out of line, he'd let me know.
Now, did you ever wear?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a story.
I was gonna say too, like
Yeah.
you seem like a very humble person.
Mm.
Like as a kid, were you like, oh, I got this? Like, were you at all like have moments of like you knew you had something and you need to be humbled, or were you just always this humble?
I think there were enough people around me who were on the level we call them people who are really good at what they do. You just call them snipers because they're just, you know what I mean? As musicians on the stage, everybody's a sniper up here. You know what I mean? So they know what they're doing. It's like they're honed in on their skill. They, it's virtuoso basically. So
Yeah.
I had a lot of that around me. So that kind of kept me on the
Okay.
level. You know what I mean?
So
Which
maybe
was a
more-
great thing. Yeah. it
Maybe
was-
more like imposter syndrome. Like, am I as good as that kid?
Right. I mean, I knew, it was just fun for me. I wasn't even thinking on like
Good.
competitive or nothing like that. It was just like, I was always the youngest in the room at the time. I was always played with people who were, older than me and around that kind of thing. So, I was probably privy to some conversations that I probably shouldn't have been around. But, and you're not in that art world, stuff just spills over, and you forget. So, yeah, it was, it kind of kept me on the level.
Good.
So, yeah.
Just discovering new things all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
high school.
High school. And so in high school, I met a guy named Homer Odell who was from Ann Arbor, Michigan. And he had some prior experience of playing with the steel band up there. And his stepdad played in the steel band. So we met, and that was the guitar player. We met up and started, playing. I found out he played guitar. And so we, got a little ragtag group together with some other folks that we knew in high school. And that we started playing together. And at that time, we were just kind of dinking around, in the recording studio, and he was really, really, he had a natural knack for he was a natural engineer, like hooking up things, and I learned a lot from him.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we were just recording songs in the studio. I was learning my voice at that time. I started because I was primarily, a drummer coming from the percussion world. And by the way, all that time too, leading up, like my aunt was, was a musical director in church. She played the organ, so sometimes I would attend and I would play in church. Sometimes just bongos, that kind of thing. And
you
so
play the bongos,
yeah,
piano with her.
Bongo. She played piano in organ. Yeah. So sometimes when she'd be like, come on and play, on Sunday, and I play, we're going to play this song, and I had accompanied with percussion and whatnot. And so in high school, I met Homer Odell, and we had these groups that we were just kind of, and it was infancy stage of like getting everything together, learning each other, learning our instruments. He's learning, guitar. And that went on for a while. Everything was just, it was just amazing in high school. We all were involved in like the studio. We all were involved. Most of us were involved in Steel Pan, that orchestra. So that was a great, that was just everything at the time. We didn't know that was such a learning, center for us. And at that time also, that was the beginning of like the mint condition stuff, like the infancy stage, because all of us except for one went to Central. By the way, yeah. The bass player's from Chicago. He came in like 86 or something like that.
Okay.
So we kind of kept doing our thing. I was playing around. I was playing, drums for everybody at the time. There's so many people locally. I was just always busy. So, I decided once I skipped past and we did the high school thing, all that stuff. But by the time it was, graduation time, I went to go and monitor classes at Northern Illinois University, which were my mentor, the steel drum instructor, was going to be teaching, and he taught there until he passed away. And so I at least wanted to go check it out and see what it was about. And I kind of did a little audition, see if I was qualified. And they were like, pretty good.
They're like, you're good.
Yeah, it's fine. And, but however, I was like, I'm going to have that gap here. I don't know if I had something else in my nobody, I was always pretty driven. Nobody had to tell me to practice. Nobody had to tell me to go do what, you get down there, although there are stories that people say that, his parents was down there, get down there and practice. It was none of that. If you hear anything.
Parents always say that.
Yeah, no, it was other friends of mine that said, well, his parents had him down there? No, none of that. They never had it. They would try to tell me, you coming up, It's kind of loud because, drums were loud instruments.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
Oh, I think that was the parents' worst nightmare.
Yeah, my mom would have a headache, and sometimes I'd be in the bass, she would like blink the lights off, and I got a headache. Oh, man. Yeah, so I'd have to stop for a minute, and I'd play soft and creep it up louder again afterward. Yes.
Yep.
So there I did all of that, and so yeah, I didn't go to college, but I had all kinds of odd jobs. My favorite was Domino's pizza driver. I used to do that,
Yeah.
I worked at First Bank, shuffling papers, trying to trusts and things like that. All kinds of stuff I did.
Was it ever hard to hold a job if you're so passionate about music?
Well, the tricky part was at that time they had all these temporary jobs you can get in. Yeah. And I think at the time I was pretty good at whatever, I put my mind to. So all those temporary jobs would become permanent. They would always offer me the position. And I was like, I kind of like to be able to. Yeah, I want to be able to move around. You were
always a hard worker.
Yeah, but I needed that flexibility, in case something popped off, because you never know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I did that, and there was a couple of little drum contests I won at the time. That I was just in a bit of
couple
everything.
Little contests.
Yeah, they had at the time.
I was the best in the state.
And,
but
there was a lot. It was real competitive, at the time. So there was. So where were they? So much you're making me jog my memory.
Oh, jobs.
Yeah. So the odd jobs was doing all that stuff, and the whole, trying to be an artist kind of thing on the side, and However, I knew that whatever job I had, and there was one in particular I had at, it was this printing press off of 7th and St. Paul. It was great money. It was called,
Was it Anchor?
yeah.
That was a paper company for sure, but
I think it was no, web publishing. It was before it was Anchor.
okay,
Web publishing.
cool.
Yeah. It became Anchor. You know, I remember working at Anchor Hawking that make the plasticware. I remember having a job there.
Oh yeah,
I
so
used
they
to-
kept you around for a long time.
Yeah, I used to work there from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m.
Wow.
Oh my,
Yeah.
because then you can go live your day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to work some crazy hours. Yeah. That was, yeah, it was wild.
Mhm.
Wow.
I mean, sometimes you need
Wow.
that. Like,
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I think I was listening to NPR like years
Mhm.
ago, and she was like, "The era of a starving artist is dead. Support yourself."
Mhm.
And I was like,
That's right.
"Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
there's a lot of things to get into, these days. I mean, what you all are doing, podcasts are
Mhm.
amazing right now. I mean, so many people are figuring it out. We got the technology, I mean, why not?
yeah,
So I tell my son, he's looking budgeting musician and whatnot. I said, really, you have everything. Every lesson, if you want, there's lessons on here. I mean, you can go find out. It's like
yeah,
if you want to do it, or if you don't do it, it's really your fault. You have everything right here at your fingertips, literally.
yes,
Mhm.
yep,
So I mean, if you don't, it's on you. You can have everything. And now at the same time, it kind of makes people lazy because it's there like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
I'll
had
get
to go
it.
seek it out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
And just the addiction of phones in general. Has that been a struggle for like your kids? Like, or they kind of?
I was hard on that, but I realized that they're a different kind of human. I was worried about it, but at the same time, they were pretty balanced.
Mhm.
And my son would actually police himself.
Mhm.
I said, how much time? No, I only use such and such. Day. I was like, okay, you're actually looking at it. Like, okay. So I eased up a bit.
Because he's a hard worker like you.
Yeah, I can see that once he puts his mind to it, he's got it. I've never had to, one indication, I've never had to wake him up for school.
What?
He gets up still to this day. And it's amazing. Yeah, that's one thing we've never had to.
As like a
Fight about.
kindergartner, he's like, I'm ready.
Yeah, he's like, it's like
He's
really.
like, Dad,
I
do you
mean,
want coffee?
Yeah, now his sister would always make him late. He would get upset. He was like, "You want to make me late? I have detention against." So I'm like, "Wow, this kid." Yeah, daughter, different story. Yeah, get her up. Yeah, so. But he gets up and so it's me. Where we at again? You got to remind me something. Start going off on.
We were talking about like the beginning of your band,
So
and you were
band,
working
yeah.
overnights.
Yeah, so working
Mhm.
overnight at the plastics company, doing all these odd jobs and trying to stay fluid so that I can, work and, play at the same time if I got to hit a gig or something like that.
Yeah.
So there was a big gig that came up, and it was a friend of mine who got me this audition. A guy named George Pettis, and he had an album at the time and a single that was going pretty crazy. And he got the opportunity. Well, there was a guy who was, I don't know if you know this group called the Jets at the time. They were from the island of Tonga. There was like 10 of them.
Okay.
Very popular songs at the time. I Got a Crush on You. Look at me at the Jets. Look them up. Yeah.
Okay.
And so they were managed by this guy named Don Powell. Don Powell had like a car dealership, so that was his thing. And he also managed this guy, George Pettis, who I was about to play with. So he had the front slot for Whitney Houston at the time. So
Wow.
at her Moment of Truth tour over in Europe. So I was on that tour. It was like 3 months. We went to every nook and cranny in Europe. That was my first time. I just turned 20.
Wow.
Just turned 20.
I mean, you're starting off pretty big.
All of yeah, it was just 19 on the cuff, 1920. And it was like, a culture shock from everything. Yeah, my first time experiencing like missing home and that whole thing. It was like, wow,
Oh, that was
Yeah.
probably your first time abroad too.
everything. It was first time
Wow.
abroad, first time away like that,
Weird schedules.
Oh, the schedule was, I mean, I was having fun. It was like playing music, but I mean, hearing the different languages, the different food, different cultures, it was just, my mind just, everything opened from there. And that
Yeah.
was like, wow, this was really crazy. So
Uh-huh.
So by the time, so let me go back before I go that far. So me and the guitar player who I mentioned, Homer Odell at the time, so I got that schedule, and he was like, oh, man, because we had plans of like putting together a group and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I said, oh, I guess this is it, man. That's the dream of the group is, God's like, oh, no, we still going to do that. I'm like, this is the stepping stones, what I looked at it as.
Yeah,
so,
you need to make the contacts.
Yeah, make the contacts. I already had it in my mind then. I was like, no. He saw the schedule and was like, wow, this is a lot of places. And it was. It was extensive. And
but it wasn't forever.
Yeah, it wasn't forever. But it was some of her biggest, hits, that you can think of. But I got to see that and witness the way things are done on the road, how, the back scenes, the production, just the preparation of how things are done, how the business is run, for that hour and a half on stage. Everything before and after, that's most of the work.
Yeah.
To prepare. So
did you have to do a lot of that prep? I always thought there was like stage crew and
yeah. They have, but I'm just saying, me witnessing that. You know what I mean? I didn't have to do anything. I had a drum tech and everything. They set everything up. Come do sound check, do the show, watch her show. Travel, see the sights.
How different is it show to show to show? Like,
well, each there. What was interesting is sometimes here it's like each state can be like a country. From like here is different than Texas, different than New York. You know what I mean? But there are other actual countries where and they're really clustered. And we going to London is different than even London, and then the other city, Birmingham, Birmingham is a little different. And then you go to France, different language, different sensibilities. And you go to Norway, different sensibilities.
Yeah.
You go to Ireland, different. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, it was really interesting to see the difference of the dialect, of the language, and then the variation of the foods and everything. Just like really interesting. So,
and then everybody singing the songs. They all know it.
Everybody singing, and that was the common. I mean, that's right. It's like music truly is the common denominator. It's like that's the thing. That is the true uniter of everything in life. To me, it's like nothing unites people like music. You don't have to know the language. It's just like it's a vibration that goes inside.
Yeah.
And that's everything. So to be a part of that community is really special. And I had to figure that out because I wasn't sure. There was one time where I was like, what am I? I'm only doing music. I'm not. I was going to do something else. I'm like, I was going to quit.
Wow.
Like 99 or something like that. Things had changed a little bit. So. But I realized that this vibration, it's really, music and the arts is something that you don't know you need until you need it. Mm-hmm. And we found that out during COVID. Again, because everybody's like, oh, we want something. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You know what I mean? So really interesting. So yeah, that was some of my, that's what did it. So learning all those, meeting so many people with, during the Whitney tour and everything, gotten that rubber elbows with her, to sing with her and just hang. And, it'd been every time I'd seen her.
Did you sing with her?
Yeah, at the end of the tour party, we got up on stage and
oh my God.
Just silliness, we just
I'm sure it was fun, but
a lot of fun. And
did you sing her songs or did you guys?
No, it was just some.
She was probably bored of her songs.
Off the cuff, we just got up there and was just, you just get up there and jam and just the first thing that comes to mind. So,
did you scat with her?
Oh yeah, absolutely, all of that.
Oh my God,
scat and all of that stuff, and just it was a lot of fun. So she was fun.
I was listening to your album and the part where you were scatting with Snoop Dogg.
Oh yeah,
I was like, he's doing it. He's out here doing it. He's living all my dreams.
Oh,
and now you sang with Whitney.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah,
you're who I want to be.
That was it's one of those things, a moment in time, and just have the opportunity. I was just so blessed to be able to be do what I'm doing, and the folks who at that time. It's just things, planets aligned. Just as planets are aligning for you all. Just as whatever you do, you're in exactly the spot you need to be when you're there. As long as you prepare for it, that's the thing. As long as
you prepare.
I always say it's like, be careful what you ask for, and then when you are asking for it, just make sure you're ready, because that opportunity is going to go by, and somebody else can be like, I got it. Oops, if you don't get it, you know what I mean? So
yeah. I think so many people get caught up in hanging on to the excuses, like, oh, the timing's not perfect. I'm not ready for that yet. I got to do this one thing before I take this huge accomplishment.
That's right.
No.
Yeah.
Go do it.
Go do it.
You'll figure it out later.
That's right. Get ready for it. And the thing is, I think it's not so much people are ready for failure. Sometimes it's the success.
Yeah.
can be scary. It's daunting, and it's very, from afar, what we do is it's a very seductive industry. It looks, it's nice and shiny and all these things that you see, but there's a lot of, I'm sure we all know by now, everybody's pretty savvy that some people's lives, the way it's put online, there's a darkness to it and all that stuff. So trying to avoid all those pitfalls, a lot of them I saw when I was younger. So I was like, ooh,
Really?
I was like, no, I want to keep it on the level here, or, ooh, I just missed that, because sometimes you can be hanging with certain people that you don't even know are into whatever they're into. And just by being around that, you're that too.
Yeah.
Guilty by association. So
Well, guilty by association, but the more you're around it, the more it becomes normal.
yes. And then you even know you're doing the same thing,
Slippery slope.
slippery
That's
slope.
a high level of discernment for like you to be able to notice that entering an industry that's so big.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I think just seeing it very early on, a lot of people who had bad habits or, things didn't end up so well, I was really, aware of it pretty early, So some of those pitfalls. And I had people around me that were just keeping me, I had the right village, as they say around me. It's like, I couldn't do anything. Like, even if I wanted to do something, it's like, no, I know your daddy. No. And I'm gonna have to answer for that. Like, no.
Uh-huh.
So,
You got one eye.
but are you sure I want to be? I'm trying, trying to be with the in crowd or whatever was happening at the time. So,
what kind of pitfalls would you say are like pitfalls?
well, just
Just to get
at
more
the time
specific.
where it's more specific, trying to get, I won't say what the group was, but they're definitely known for their drinkers, like really, and getting into all kind of drugs and all kind of stuff. And they'd be like, come on, Stokely. I'm like, no, man, I'm not, I can't do it. It's just
Not
like
for
this.
you.
You're right. Your guys' story is way crazy, And this was after, we had a couple records out and everything. It's a very, it looks like fun for people, but I'm like, no, that's not going to end well. And it didn't for them. So I'm like, they're still around doing what they do, but that wouldn't be good for me. I don't really need that to get my high. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always room for recovery. Maybe
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Like, man, so, yeah, but there are so many things you can imagine. You read so much stuff online and, there are also so many lies and everything, but there's always a little bit to the truth. Sometimes there's not any truth. There's just people making stuff up.
Right. Doing it for the clicks.
Which is frustrating, I'm sure, for the people going through that. So I really feel for a lot of people that I've seen, go through that. And I'm like, man, I have nothing. Where did this even come from?
Yeah.
And, sometimes that's, I think, part of that whole successful thing, because people cheer you on. And once you get there and you have so much exposure, you're there for so long, it's normalized. It's like, oh. And I feel like that happens with Beyonce a lot. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people who just, she's just classy about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love to see that. It's like she's been there and she's top of her game, top of the food chain. People know it. People love it. There's some people she can't sing. It's like, really?
Have you heard her?
You sure she can't? Okay.
All right.
Okay.
I want you to sing next to her.
Yeah.
We're
I'm
gonna
like,
see.
come on, man. I mean, it's something else. So, I just dismiss that as I don't know what you're looking at or listening to. So, yeah, but there's, it's a crazy, crazy game, just like anything. But, highly competitive. And I feel like there are more people doing arts and music now than ever,
Yeah.
Because music is one of those things that you really can enter in at any point. You know what I mean? To be a lawyer, you have to pass the bar. To be an agent to sell houses, you got to go through something. You know what I mean?
Right. Well.
Music, you can buy a computer. Oh, doop, 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 doop. So, make a song. And here's the thing about it. You can actually be a hit with no
With
talent.
TikTok, with all that. Yep.
It's the crazy thing. So, it's really, it's crazy. It's really crazy. So most of the people who are really amazing, who put in the time, you never hear of, or it's very difficult
Yes.
to you discover. Oh, wow, this is a new artist. No, they've been around for 15 years.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Like, I feel like I hear these stories all the time of these artists who are so talented and they just can't get a break.
Yeah.
what kind of like inspiration do you have for them to either keep going or maybe?
I think there's a couple of things. One, that's why people move to certain places. You have to go where that thing is. You know what I mean? I think you can do it in, wherever, but that's a chance where somebody might come in town and see you. There's that, and then also now I think it's a different day because of technology. So you can pretty much upload your stuff wherever you're at, and people will see it. So it kind of doesn't matter where you are.
So just keep going.
Keep going. So whatever, after it's out there, your product, whatever you're trying to sell, whatever you're trying to promote, just keep going. Somebody will see it. There's so much traffic on this stuff, on social media, that you just have to keep posting until people see it. It's like a commercial. You might not see a commercial for a while. Commercials been out for a month, but unless you're watching TV, at a certain time, you're not going to see it. So you have to keep putting things that look attractive. That's going to, attract somebody's sensibilities. And just keep going, whatever you do. So and try to hone your skills. To be the best. Have some history about what you're doing. Know how you got to that, how it came to be. I think that's what prepares you for if you choose to have a career versus a moment. 3 to 5 years and it's done. Because that's all you know. You know what I mean? So make sure that you go back, do the research, how that thing came to be, how you came, where you sit inside of it, so that you can talk about it and elevate yourself past any enforced trend or style. Because those float, those come and go. So
Know your why.
Yeah, know your why. You got it. Absolutely.
So I think is there a difference between, obviously there's a difference between your 15 seconds of fame and a career. Is there a way to hedge towards the career? Because I feel like you hear all these one-hit wonders.
Yeah, true. I would say just do what you love. It's true, Russ, and you build it, people will come. You'll find your tribe, you'll find your people. Just keep doing it. You have to be consistent. And be consistent, but while you're still discovering yourself and, try to, cover some new ground. And people will find you. I think that's just the thing. But, the three things that I give to younger people coming up, is your skill set, work on that for sure. Like we talked about, history and where you sit inside that. Also technology, stay abreast of that, because that's the thing. In any industry that's going to prepare, it's going to change. It's going to change everything. You can't. Everybody's selling papers online. You can't just here's your paper. You know what I mean? They're online. You know what I mean?
Right.
Every industry has to be online. So, skill set, technology, and then your actual business that you're in. So, know some lawyers, know some agents, know some promoters, people who don't have anything to do with what you do. Because you never know who you run into. It's like at some point, there's a lot of people who you don't see now. It's like, where's that group? They might be doing a lot of corporate work. A lot of times they're over in Dubai doing for this company and blah, blah, blah. Cool in the Gang, this old group, they've been around since the 70s.
That's one of my dad's favorites.
Yeah, they do a lot of corporate work. I've ran into them. It's like, what are you guys doing? We're over in Indonesia at some point, staying in the same hotels. We're doing something for some big tech company, whatever.
Cool.
Yeah, I did a thing with, when beloved Prince passed away, there was all these people doing these tributes. So I was blessed enough to play with the Revolution for about a year or so. And it was really amazing. The craziest, it was bizarre. I'm like, why am I here? It's crazy. It was weird,
Yeah, how did you get into that?
Well, they they were trying to figure out, who to get to sing his stuff, because nobody's.
You were singing Prince?
Oh yeah, playing with the Revolution. So if you've seen Purple Rain, that was the group, the group who made that was the famous group, So
yeah,
they all that stuff and Purple Rain and Darling Nikki and all the stuff from that, when they were involved. I think it was like from his early times all the way to like I don't know, late 80s or something like that, and then they disbanded. So all the stuff that they did, they were trying to find somebody to do it that had the right, not just that sang like him, just had the right energy. So
Yeah.
they landed on me. They'd heard about me, and seen me
Wow.
with Mint and all that stuff. And actually, the only person who I didn't know was Wendy and Lisa. So got to know them, just loved them to death, just amazing. So
A lot of them are still like local musicians too.
yeah, I mean, Bobby Z's drummer's still here. Dr. Fink is still here. Mark Brown Mark is in Atlanta, and yeah, two of them are here. And Winnie and Lisa are still out in LA. They do a lot of film work and television, a lot of stuff that you probably watch. They score a lot of that stuff, yeah.
Cool.
And yeah, that was a really unique opportunity. And it's every night, I'd sing it because they go out and do a couple songs, then I'd come on and do a couple, then I would leave.
Yeah.
And they do. So I was like in the moment, then I'd go off and then I'd be a fan, like, what am I doing? Oh, it's my turn. I'm singing, then I go off, I'm like, oh, what am I doing? It was crazy. It was really, but just a beautiful experience. And, just hearing some of the stories was really amazing, just from their perspective, and how hard he worked and how hard he worked them. They're still unpacking things years later.
Yeah.
He was really intense, just an intense,
Uh-huh.
his creation is massive.
Yeah.
So, and getting a chance to actually know him before he passed, and he was always generous with Mint Condition as far as taking us places, and done some playing Madison Square Garden with him, and went over to overseas with him, playing some of the biggest crowds. There was one night with like 70,000 people. The next night was like 30. It was just crazy,
Yeah.
So as far as the eye can see, and just being a part of that was just an amazing journey, and just hearing how he works and what to. What things to work on. And he gave me I'm still unpacking a lot of our conversations. That's the thing that I miss the most
Yeah.
is,
Do you remember one of them?
well, yeah, he was just, one of the last things was he wanted to be a part of, he was like, so when are you going to do something? I was like, I'm actually working on it now. He's like, can I be a part of it? I was like, what?
Prince wants to be a part of yours.
And I was like, of course, man, this is, yeah, it just, wow. And, there's so many things that he shared with me about that, about the journey of just like being in a band, and being able to contribute like that. And I've always considered Mint like it's a university of these incredible musicians, producers, songwriters. We were a collective, and just so many lessons that, forever that will, I always will cherish. And so, him saying that, it's like, look, man, you have a lot more to say, and I want people to know you and that kind of thing. So just to hear it from him was really an amazing thing to have somebody recognize, one of your musical heroes,
Yeah.
So,
I feel like, not many people have heart-to-hearts with Prince.
yeah, it's and for me, I'm sure other people had conversations. I hear some of my other colleagues around. It's like, yeah, I think later on in his life he became that mentor to people. When I spoke with even like Janelle Monáe, he was one of his, she was like, man, he loved her. Yeah. And I think she was the first person that he let produce his vocal. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah, so it was like, but he always talked about her. So, people like that really, Prince, he was just like an amazing spirit, and he tried to really impress upon all of us. Just really do your thing, man, to the fullest, stay reaching, stay pushing the limit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, so it was that was an amazing time, with him. I'll miss that, but so many lessons. And yeah, he was a funny dude too, man. It's funny. There was one time we were downtown, I was playing drums with a group, and I was back there drumming and singing, and I'm feeling this stuff hit me in the head. Like, what the heck is going on? There was money on the band. I hear this, and I hear this loud laughing. You better get it. You better play it. Whatever. It's Prince back there, and there's rolled up $100 bills he's throwing at me. I'm like, what are you doing, man? He's like, you was getting it, man. I was like, oh, man. Hilarious. I'm like, he's just sitting there. I'm like, who's throwing money? Thank you. But I realized, it was $100 bills. Yes.
He was making it rain.
Making it rain. I was like, okay, man. All right, Rain Man. Yeah. Yeah, that was fun. So, yeah, that was some of the just so many great highlights, that I had,
Yeah.
and being able to meet some of your heroes like that. There's nothing like that. And they say never meet your hero, but for me, I've always had. It's never really been a anything bad like that because I've always kept, even with him, I kept my distance of what it's like
Mhm.
okay, so I would wait for him to call me because I was never. I know he could be kind of prickly like that. You know what I mean? So.
Uh-huh.
And I think it ended up being where it's like he would want me around more because of that, probably.
Yeah, he's like, this guy's not bothering me.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
call him.
And I wasn't on his payroll. I wasn't familiar like that, So
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. But yeah, so
Huh.
it was fun. Yeah.
What other heroes have you met?
Other heroes, of course, the great Stevie Wonder, is, it's America's, he's one of the last, ones we got, as far as like songwriting, just what he's contributed to American culture, the songbook, for the world, he's like a musician's musician, a singer's singer,
Yeah.
people we all, a songwriter's songwriter, he's everything,
He's everything.
and he's really just a great human being, somebody that can take 5 years off of their life and to help get Martin Luther King bill passed. That was something he was a part of, you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
of American history that, I mean, a person, a real human being that's dedicated, that really helps uplift and shift the culture, American culture as a whole, in a way. And I'm not sure if many people are aware of that. So that says so much. So he's more than just, a musician. He's a humanitarian and these things, activists, and which are really important. There's a great human beings I think we can align ourselves with, and learn something. So every time I see him, it's like I'm meeting him for the first time.
Yeah.
It's really, really amazing. Yeah.
I mean, people do change a lot.
Yeah.
Oh,
for
You're
sure.
probably meeting a different version of him for sure.
Yeah. Every time it's it's like that. But it's always amazing. I'm like, man, I have having his number, and it's like I just look like, what? Yeah, crazy. Met Michael once in the studio, Michael Jackson, which was crazy.
Really?
Yeah, had his mask on, and his only words to me was like, "Oh yeah, what are you guys working on?" I'm like, "Oh, he's working on stuff. Oh, I can't wait to hear it. Looking forward to it." Yeah, I heard it because they were working on the Scream record, him and Janet, and I was like, "Well, I heard it. Yes, it was bubbling in there, man." It's like, "Yeah, it's turning out really nice. I like it." I was like, "Okay."
Your impression of him is spot on.
I was like, "Oh man, yeah." So that was a cool moment,
That's
And
really
it.
cool.
But yeah, so that was he was another one. And again, it's like I can't imagine my life like at all without the Jackson 5 and Mike. They've always just been there. You know what I mean? It was just like one of those things growing up. It was like, and someone again who helped shift American culture, put it, just in a way that we've never seen.
Yeah, he was the first music video.
Right. I mean, all these firsts. I'm like, wow, this is crazy, So, yeah, man, and to rub elbows, at different points in my life with these people is just really, really amazing.
Because you worked a lot with Janet too.
Look, I was at Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, their producer, and from here they came out of a group called The Time. The Time was a group that Prince produced. So the legend has it that they missed a gig with The Time because they were out producing for somebody else in Atlanta, missed the flight. Prince was upset. Prince fired them.
Oh.
And then, Terry Lewis, the one half of Flight Time, he always says, Prince didn't fire us. He he gave us, he freed us.
There you go.
Basically, he freed us. So they weren't. Had they not been fired, they wouldn't become the Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis that we all know from Mariah Carey records, Michael, Janet, et cetera, some of the biggest producers ever to do it. And so they had so many people coming in at one time. There was, if you look at a lot of the stuff, their discography. I was on a lot of records I didn't even know I was on,
Really?
I was just recording. Also, sometimes it would be just background vocals. Sometimes it would be, we need drums on this, we need some ad-libs, we need some percussion, we need some hand claps, we need, this one time, this would happen often. I can remember one story. It was like, yeah, I love that Usher record you're on, man. It's like, I love what you did. I was like, I didn't even know. I was like, what? What? I was like, oh, I didn't even know that was for him because sometimes I didn't know what songs were for what artists.
Yeah.
because they were just churning them out one after the other, like boom, boom, boom.
Was it you clapping hands for the usher?
I might have been drummed or something. I don't know.
I think it was
can't
vocals. I didn't look it up.
Could be. Oh, you look it up? Was it?
It was
Okay. Well, there you go.
vocals. I just wanted you to say, like,
I don't know.
I was listening to a track.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I think that was me clapping.
Yeah. That's that one hand right there.
That's me.
Right there. That's me. One hand clap. Yeah, that. So there was a lot of that happened, So a lot of those records, whether it be a Mariah Carey record or a Boyz II Men record or even Elton John or something, that I don't even remember. Somebody's like, oh, they had to play it. I was like, oh, yeah, I remember that.
Huh.
Yeah, so it's one of those, again, one of those moments. I was right place, right time. I had the right skill set. And I guess I was the residential drummer for Flight Time Production at the time,
Like
unofficial,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but so I was on a lot of records because of them, So Janet and later on with Mint, I think it was our second album. We actually were asked. We were on the tour with her. So after Tony was on it before, an amazing band, and we did the last half of that tour. So
okay.
That one was an amazing experience, just watching her. We missed one show watching her, only because we had another show to go to. But after we got off opening for her, we would go watch her every night. Consummate professional, just from and just the sweetest person. I mean, just it was really cool to witness that. So yeah, we had a great time. Had all of these people and situations to learn from, which really kind of put us, it was just part of the journey. You know what I mean? You learn all these different things. So yeah.
So like, I'm a little unfamiliar of how like the music industry works, but so if you're clapping on a background track, is that something you get royalties from, or is that like
no?
I helped you, you helped me?
No, not those. So what they would call they would call it either what do they call additional something? Well, they call like if you're doing like some yelling or something, they call that additional vocals. That's not really worth a royalty. And how it works is that's not royalty. That's more of a musicians union. So a musicians union pays you for session work.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So you would get paid for whatever, couple $100, whatever it is. And that would, add up over time. You did all these sessions, and we just, constantly you have checks coming through, so which is great. And then some people would pay you under the table if it's like, okay, I'm going to pay you. I got 5 songs, and say if it's like $200 a song, So well, we get a deal. I do for 5, songs. It'll be just a little bit under what the union would pay you. But if you want the opportunity, you go ahead and go for it, kind of thing. So, but as far as royalties, that kind of thing, that is a thing that then you have agreements come into place, contracts, that kind of thing. And depending on what you do, if you're a writer on it or if you're a producer,
okay,
that kind of thing, you kind of work that out within whoever you're working with, whatever producer, whatever the artist is or the manager. It depends on how they work their business. So. Okay. Those things are pre-planned, pre-worked out.
And that's like an agent lawyer thing that gets negotiated.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. We never talked about your like discovery. So you were in Minneapolis. You're working odd jobs.
Yes.
So
how that happened was, so I come back from the Moment of Truth tour with Whitney, right? We put the whole Mint Condition thing together.
Yeah.
And
officially put a title on it.
You guys put a title on it. Yeah, real band. And so it's just some fun facts coming up. So that was and all this stuff is you can go look at it. It's crazy, it's just some hilarious the way we would dress. But this was the whole Minneapolis time back there. Everybody was just really trying to find the ledge, trying to find the edge, and get folks to recognize you, kind of thing. So. Mint Condition's first official appearance was at something called the Black Music Awards. And it was at this place called the Carlton Celebrity Room. The Carlton Celebrity Room is, where that is? It's where the Mall of America sits right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was right there.
The old baseball stadium, was it? Or
well, that was the Met. That was the Met Center.
Okay.
the Met Stadium. I'm sorry, and it was right across the street.
Okay.
Yeah, they had something called Carlton, and everybody would come there. So at that time, who's who was in the room, and we had these outfits that were crazy. And
What were they?
One had it was some of it looked like something from Star Trek.
Cool.
And mind you, the person who came up with the with Prince's like the trench coat, the whole thing.
Mhm.
She was our manager at the time. So
Oh.
and she also made clothes. So she made us the clothes, and we were just trying. Yeah, we want something crazy, just
Mhm.
get people's attention. So we had one leg that was like faux leather, and we had like this V kind of top, and it had yellow fringes. The whole thing was black and yellow kind of thing.
Cool.
And then the other part of the pants leg was like all fishnet.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll let your mind do what it's going to do. Yeah, and we
All the way up.
All the way up, and we started with our back to the audience. Right, the curtains came up, and we were like, "Mint condition." Oh, you could hear it in the audience. It was like counted off, and we just went for it.
How far down did this V go?
The V went all the way down, but we had heavy choreography stuff. We were jumping up in the air, and then it was. Everything was everything. So yeah,
That's
needless to
great.
say, we got people's attention from jump. So
From the jump.
from the jump, it was crazy. Yeah. So that was the beginning of that, and that was in 1986. Wow, that's so crazy, man.
Mhm.
The 1900s, yeah. And so our thing was we weren't a cover band, so we never really learned anybody else's music. We were
Mhm.
doing like a lot of showcases. That was our thing. And like a lot of events outside, where we'd be out in the park, that kind of thing. So
Mhm.
at one of the showcases, we did something at First Avenue, and we invited, at the time, MCA Records out. We invited Paisley, Prince's people. We
Mhm.
invited Jam and Lewis from Flight Time. And because, people been hearing, stuff about Mint Condition. Who was this? Who was this group? Whatever.
Yeah.
Hearing good things. And so they came out. Everybody came out. And after, I remember we only played like 20 minutes or something like that. And after, I remember walking to my car, and I saw Jam and Lewis. I'm like, "Hey, Stoke, good show. Going to talk next week." It's like, "Oh, really? Okay." I just brushed it off because at that point, it's nothing till it's something in my
Mhm.
mind. That's great. I'm really glad they came out. I'm hoping it is, but I'm like, okay, fine. They came out. Doesn't mean anything. A couple weeks after that, we were in Flight Time office, and they were like, "What do you guys want to do?" I'm like, "Oh, okay, this might be real." So we
This
would
is it.
love to produce at least half the album, because we were creators,
Yeah.
we're a band creating that. And the thing they knew coming from the band, the time, what that meant. And he was like, "Oh, you can produce the whole damn thing if you want." It's like, we were like, "Oh, okay, cool,"
Wow.
So that was a really, it's again, this is a moment in time that,
Mhm.
we had our skill set at a place where it was just good, at least.
Mhm.
And yeah, we went on from there. So that's what lit the fire. And our first single came out, didn't do too much, And then we released our second single, a song called "Breaking My Heart, Pretty Brown Eyes." It was one of our biggest hits. And that song actually was entered the charts. It was kind of stalling, kind of going down. So we decided to go do this grassroots like promotional tour in a Winnebago. It was just like grass, just bare bones. So,
Yep.
and went to all the HBCUs around, historical Black colleges in the East Coast and kind of thing, just to kind of break ground, because
Mhm.
people needed to see you. And I think we're the kind of band that needed to be seen.
Yeah.
The
Especially with
musical
outfits
brand.
like that.
Oh, yeah, we had switched from then because it had been, so by the time this happened, so flash forward, so the first was like in 86, but then this happened, it was like 88, 89, so 89 is when we got signed,
Mhm.
and that was Perspective Records, A&M, and yeah, that's when it came out, and, we started doing that little promotional tour, and after that, things started to soar, and it just, the pop radio picked it up. Everybody was, that's when we would go to radio stations and sing for them. And,
Cool.
at the time, there's groups like Jodeci and Boyz II Men were out. So we were lumped in with the vocal groups. And we're like, no, we sing, but we actually play our own instruments. We're self-contained. So that was the difference, and people didn't really get that, you know. And so people had to experience seeing us, you know. So when we hit the stage, it was interesting because none of our songs were, most of them were like up tempos and just kind of aggressive energy. We maybe had like one. We only had one song, the "Breaking My Heart" at the time on the demo, and so that went so well that we got to have something else slow. So we became this, you know, band that was known for their ballads. We always had that inner conflict because we were a little bit more rock and roll, you know what I mean? So we approached. So when people saw us, we had all this energy that we'd be containing inside of these ballads, and it was, you know what I mean? But it made for a great show. You know, and so everywhere we went, that's why people had to experience it, you know, live, because it had this amazing energy. So you know, word started spreading and that kind of thing, and we were on these, you know, opening shows, and you know, a lot of opening slots, and that's what lit the fire. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So you'd go to a radio station, do your ballad, and then like sneak in something a little more catchy.
Well, yeah, on the live shows, like we would go in, we shamed, like they weren't even playing our record. We shamed them into playing the record.
That's good. That's good. You know? Everybody likes a guilt trip.
We went there knowing they weren't playing, especially the pop radios, and we'd be like, "Oh, thank you for playing the record." And after that, "Are we playing the record?" "I don't think we are." But they would get wind that it was, you know, gaining steam, and nobody likes to be the person that doesn't know. I'm not in on the joke, or I'm not in on whatever the end thing is. It's like, oh, well, we know about it too, you know. So they started.
That's a great tactic.
Yeah, I don't know if it worked now, but it worked, and it was honest because it was gaining steam, and the song was really hot, and it was, you know, we were just really on fire at that time. So yeah, it was an interesting, you know, concept the way they did it. You know, it's like, man, we had a lot of fun though, a lot of fun. So that's what lit it up, and from there, you know, did the first album, second album. And like I said, that's when we got with did the Johnny Jackson tour.
Yep.
And
you were her opener.
Opener, yes. Yeah, opener for that. And after that, did the third album. And at that time, what did we do after that? There was just a bunch of stuff. We did a bunch of gigs, a bunch of shows. You know, there's some, you know, a couple television things we did. And then after that, we were looking to get off the label, and that was about 1995, 96, something like that. And we struck up a deal with Elektra Records at the time, and we put out Life's Aquarium, and that was a great bunch of songs. And after that, I think that project, we were trying to figure out what to do, so we went on tour. We were the backup band for Toni Braxton at that time, so we were actually opening for her, and then we were her band as well, so that it was kind of cool.
Yeah,
it was fun.
That was cool.
And one of the members found love, him and Tony got married, Carrie, and so he left, and then it was just the five of us, and then we went on and we did only one album for Elektra Records, and then we had there was like a little hiatus where we just wanted to do some life things. So me and the other keyboard player, Lawrence Waddell, we took like a 5-month intensive Spanish course, which was amazing. It was one of the best classes I've ever taken.
So you became bilingual just in 5 months?
Yeah, it was great. It was a university language center over at the U of M. And matter of fact, it was such a great program that it trumped the U of M's Spanish program. Yeah. So the people there at the college were coming to this. It was on campus, you know, but it was just part of a different thing. But yeah, it was amazing. So after that, we went to Greece and Spain and Italy just to use the language, just travel a little bit. Me and Larry, one of the keyboard players. So yeah. And so that was fun. So I've always been into language, and just like I've always been a mimicker. You know, so listening to the accents of, you know, how people say things, whatever country I'm in, I'm always learning, like, okay, please, thank you, where's the bathroom? No meat. That's my basic, you know, so yeah. And from there, it just kind of, you got to learn how to say this, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. The crowd would love this, you know, because anytime you know their language, it's like, oh, man, they feel like you're a part of them. So, yeah. It's always fun. So, Yeah, that we did that. Took the class, and then after that, we were thinking more independent, and so we did something called Live from the 930 Club, Living the Luxury Brown. These were all on an independent, label that we had at the time called Caged Bird Records, and struck up a deal with this video company called Image Entertainment. So we did a deal with them, and we did like a live video with that concert video. And so it started us on the independent route, and we just kept going from there. And man, it's just so much. You make me think about so much stuff is coming. I'm like, wow.
You're like, I've had a great life.
This is crazy, man. It's been really crazy. I've always been, even before Mint, during Mint, I've always, played in different bands. I was also with this group called Ursus Minor, and they were based out of France. So I would do a tour with them once a year, twice a year sometimes. We tour all over, France. And this group was just very, a bit of everything, because the keyboard player, the piano player was, he played for the Philharmonic in London. I mean, he looked like Rachmaninoff or somebody. He looked like one of these composers back in the day. Hair is crazy, straight Brit, bumbling Brit.
Just angry.
Yeah. And another French saxophone player, and had this guitar player from Philly. Amazing. Just four of us, and then me, and I would sing and play drums, and it was just such an eclectic blend of, sometimes you'd hear a pin drop, it'd be so quiet, and then the next minute it'd be like just bombastic, crazy.
Yeah.
But I would say, like, traveling like in France, these places, you have these audiences who are available and ready for that, because you can speak to them in a way that you can't here in the States. Here in the States, it's like you have to have a record. It's almost like you have to be popular. Then we'll come see you,
Yeah.
If you're good there you have a fan forever. It's like they find out that's it. They're coming, and it's like they're into the art of it, Same thing like in Japan. It's like, man, the cool thing about Japan is it's intergenerational. So you have the people that's your age, they'll bring their parents and their grandparents, and they're all sitting up there partying.
Family trip.
Yeah, I'm like, wow. It was just like, it's an amazing thing to see, to experience. So, yeah, I mean, the first time I started coming to Europe, it was different, and I'm glad to see the change. Because when I went there with the whole Whitney thing, something called Checkpoint Charlie was in there. So that was like they had a wall, the Berlin Wall was up.
Wow.
And matter of fact, we took a trip over to East Berlin. It was a little scary because we were like, are we going to get back on the other side?
But I mean, you didn't know.
Yeah, but they had a thing where you can go over there to a certain part. So we went, and I remember getting to the other side and looking at the wall. There's all like bullet holes everywhere. Just as far, I was like, whoa. But the energy was different. Immediately when we crossed that wall, it was gray. I mean, just the energy was crazy. It was just a lady in the stoop swooping. She was like looking like, I was like,
she was like, "Are you here to bring joy?"
Wow. It was really dark. It was a trip. So, it was really, really interesting. So, now,
did you
years
get a lot
later,
of people at that show? Did you get a lot of people at that show?
Yeah, they were there. So, I mean, that was just like a tour we went, so we went and just, it was a day trip we did. So, we didn't play in East Berlin because it was total,
you just went to go see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just visited, just as like a little trip. But yeah, they were there. They're up for it, and people were so just rabid fans. It was just like, because they don't, get that kind of thing. So it was interesting to travel at that time, as opposed to now. And mind you, like whatever we did here in the States, they would get it like years later.
Yeah.
So they were on some disco trip. I was like, what? Y'all are just getting this now?
You're like, I can do this.
Yeah, right. I'm like, but we had this like 10 years ago, y'all. Yeah, it's just a happening thing now. I was like, wow, okay, whatever. It's all good, man. And as opposed to now, with this whole thing of the internet, it's immediate.
Yeah.
So whenever we get something, they're gonna get it. This is, like I can make something tonight and put it up, and somebody in Timbuktu can have it. You know what I mean? Just immediately. So it's not travel time is just, which is it's cool. It kind of puts the power back into to the artist, because that is the thing that middle person with labels, the distributors, like, you have to wait for this and that. There's so much red tape you got to go through, so many, levels of what's got to do this before it does. We got to clear this and blah, blah, blah. Like, because what it used to be, you make an album, right? And then you have to prep it for press and all that stuff that it's coming, get the anticipation. But also they have to, proof all of the credits, all that stuff to make sure it goes through 3 or 4 rounds of that, And so that takes, it might be 3 months from when you turn in a record.
Oh, and you're so excited.
Yeah. So, that's why a lot of times, a lot of artists, so wow, you just get on this record. Oh man, we're on to our next record. This has been done,
Yeah.
So they're already, on to whatever the next thing. So every artist it's, to the public, it was new. For us, it's like we've been living with it forever, so. And so it's an interesting process now where it's immediate. Like, you can put something up, whereas that process, you've eliminated some of that. They still do some of that now, or just the anticipation it's coming, and that you have to go through the whole process of proofreading and all that stuff. But there's less to do because you don't have any CDs anymore. It's all, you know what I mean? There's nothing to write. That's a shame, because that's how we used to get all our information of who to get to mix something, who you want to style it, who you want to shoot it. You know what I mean? Now you have to go digging. Now, who did this album? You know what I mean? Who mixed it? Who did the styling on it? You know what I mean? Who shot the pictures? That kind of. Who's the art director? That stuff. That's how we all used to get work.
So now the only person getting credit really is the main artist.
The main artist. And you have to go dig. You have to say, who did? I mean, they have it, but you have to go to Google and say, who engineered, Dua Lipa's song on blah, 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 this album.
Which,
then it might come up.
It might.
It might come up. So, yeah, man. So.
At what point did you meet your wife?
Met her. I met her in L.A. She's from Altadena, but would spend her summers in D.C. because she got family in D.C. And so this was in, I would say, what else was that? So that had to be, met her in 1999 in Los Angeles. And you remember the Motown records, right?
Yeah.
So Motown had a show at the time. It wasn't around for that long. So where all these artists would come on and sing their songs and whatnot. And so I met her there, and she was, the wife is she's been doing hair for forever, since she was 16. And she's also a chef, pastry chef. And so she was doing hair then with some people, she was there with maybe Eve, and I think DMX was there. There was a bunch of people on the show at that time. And so one of her friends was a big Mint Condition fan. And so we were playing, and
jealous.
but she was there with him doing whoever's hair or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. And then, so I was off, I think what happened was, I came off stage, sound check or something like that. And then I met the guy, whoever was with her. He was like, yeah, I'm a big fan, blah, blah, whatever. And, sorry, I'm talking off mic.
Okay.
That means I'm just comfortable, that's all. So, then she said, oh, my name is Sylvia. I was like, oh, good to meet you, whatever. And the guy was saying, well, I could do your hair, whatever, blah, blah, blah. He'd already said that, so she couldn't use that same line. I could hear her. So she was just like, yeah, I'd like to, stay in touch with you, give you my information kind of thing. So I remember she wrote it down in this pink sparkly pen,
Jelly rolls.
Yeah,
Those
is
were
that what it
really
was?
big back then.
Is that what it was? Okay, yeah, pink sparkly pen. I remember that. And so it was in 1999. I met her there in L.A., Motown Live show. But I didn't call her and didn't
Were you too
fast
nervous?
forward. I don't know what I was doing at the time,
It didn't seem like you were interested in dating at all, really, with all the music.
I was
right?
dating, but it was just like I wasn't. I don't know. I think at that time, let's see, that record and everything, there was a lot going on. We had, I was definitely in a business mode. And, I was dating, but it wasn't like priority, like, you know what I mean, at that time. So there were some changes being made, I think, after that was when I think Carrie had left the group and all that stuff. So we had all that stuff happening. And so yeah, fast forward a couple years, you know, when we started doing the Mint Condition, like we were off the corporate structure. We were doing independent, you know. And so we played this, we did, I mentioned an album called 930 Club or Live from Living the Luxury Brown. That was in like 90, I'm sorry, like that was like in 2004 or something like that, 2003, 2004. And I remember giving, you know, an autograph for somebody, one of the players. Jeff had a friend. He was like, this person wants an autograph from you, whatever, blah. So I did the autograph. We went to play in D.C., and Jeff tells me, oh yeah, the girl you gave an autograph to, my friend's friend, yeah, she's here, just wants to meet you, you know. And and he was like, yeah, she's outside. And he was like, hurry up. Because I was getting dressed. She was like, you might want to hurry up. I was like, what do you mean? Hurry up. I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
I was like, okay, what do you mean? What is that? You know. And yeah, we played the show and everything. So I came out there. I was like, hi, good to meet you. And I was like, yeah, we were just talking for a minute. And I said, I'm going back in and get ready to go or whatever, that kind of thing. And she says, can I give you my information again? And
Did she say again?
No, well, I'm saying again. She said, can I give you my information?
Oh.
And I was like, okay, sure. And she starts to write it, and I'm looking at this pink sparkly pen. I was like, then I looked up. I was like,
it's you.
I've met you before, haven't I? And she was like, yes. She wasn't gonna say anything. She was like, yes. I was like, 1999 in LA at Motown Live, right? She was like,
wow.
I don't know why or how I remember that. You know, from, you know, at the time I was like, that was crazy. And just like 2 weeks before, I was cleaning out my drawers at home. And I remembered Sylvia had her, and I threw it out. I was like,
I can't call her now.
I don't know, you know, yeah. So that's where, and from there, you know, so there was that little space, but then we met. And that was it.
Wow. You know, shoot or shoot. You know, that's what she was doing. You know, she shot her shot.
I shot and got the second. But something about that pink sparkly pen, and I was just in the moment. So I guess it was meant. So
yeah.
like, yeah.
I think everything like that for sure happens for a reason. Yeah. Like the timing wasn't right before, but it was a right girl.
Right time, just everything. And then I got all of that in that moment. I was like, oh, wow, okay. So we just kept talking as people do. And like, you know, it felt right, and it felt right again, and it felt right, you know, it's like, this is, let's go.
What I'm hearing is create your situation. Create the moments.
Create the moments,
create those moments and make destiny happen.
Yeah, and let it happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't block your blessings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There you go.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
get a sparkly pink pen.
Get a sparkly pink pen.
Make yourself stand out.
That's right. That's right, man. That's it. That was it. So
that's beautiful. Yeah. So how long have you guys been together now?
Since, let's see. Oh God.
Since 2004.
Yeah.
Wow.
There you go.
Yeah.
How did you convince her to move to Minnesota?
Well, it was, you know, we were trying to figure it out, you know. I was like, am I going to move? And I was like, the whole production is here, the band is here, you know. So that would have been a bigger thing. And, you know, I'm a integral part of the band. You know, we do a lot of recording, you know. I had, you know, stuff set up at the house at the time, too. And as things were getting more computerized, you know, studios, I had home studios, so I was very, you know, was the centerpiece for that, you know, or one of the centerpieces, I should say. So, you know, we looked at Atlanta, we went down there for a second, you know, she was looking at moving down there and to be closer, and, you know. But then decided, here, it's like, look, let's do it. So we drove from D.C., and that's where she was staying at the time. All got in that little Penske truck, packed it up in October. That's right.
The poor girl. Her first winter. Was she?
The first winter was interesting, but she likes being inside with the fireplace on, watching the snow. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's just it's the cold and the ice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just really, I don't mind the snow, but you know, if there was no ice,
Yeah.
it, you know, it makes you anxious and nervous,
Yeah.
you know, and then the
Mhm.
cold, it's like,
Mhm.
that's tough, you know. The roughest winter for her, I think, was when I was playing with Urs Husmaier, the French group I told you about. So I had a tour with them
Mhm.
lined up, and then some stuff with Mint in, was it Iraq at the time, or was it, yeah, it was Iraq. We went to
Wow.
Iraq to play for the troops. And so I had to play with, go to France and do that tour first, right?
Mhm.
So I did that. And I remember I had like 4 bags or something like that. And I got to the gate, to the check-in. And I was like, yeah, we had to fly through Kuwait. I had to go to Kuwait first. And I get there and it's like, oh, the lady was like, okay, that'll be 900 pounds. And I'm like, or 900 euro.
Mhm.
And I was like, huh. It's funny. She was laughing. That's funny. And she stopped laughing. She said, 900 euros. I'm like, what? For my bag? It was.
Because it was Kuwait?
Yeah, I guess, on my bags. It's like, wait, I can see a couple hundred. What?
Yeah.
And 900 euro, that's like, a couple more, like might have been $1,000
Right.
bucks, I mean, US. I was like, okay,
For
that was the
bonus
first
bags.
shocker. I'm like, okay, that's crazy. So anyway, we toured, couple places in Iraq, and then we went to there's a place in Japan. And then after that, we went to record this show called Way Black Wind in LA for 2 weeks. So we had been gone for like,
Mhm.
I don't know, a month and a half, something like that. And at
Tell me
that
it was-
time, she had to get out and shovel. And it was a really bad winter. Like really.
They have services for this.
I know, yeah. It was then. It was just she was out. It was yeah.
It's
so
a good workout at least.
It was a good way. So that one, I was like, so from that time, it was like, okay, if that happens, we just get the service and don't even worry about it. You shouldn't be out there trying to.
Yeah.
But she got her
You gotta
break.
do it once.
She got her broken in. The Minnesota winter. So yeah.
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 Has it changed how you move once you got into a serious relationship? Like how balancing like romance and
Well,
career and all that?
thankfully, how we used to tour, we would just be out for weeks and weeks and weeks, just straight. I remember missing so many winters, so I mean that's why I probably never moved because I got enough of, when it's wintertime, we'd be out in the South or out West or somewhere where it's hot. So I'd miss the whole winter seasons, leave at do New Year's and that kind of thing, and then be out a couple weeks later until April.
Yeah.
And, what happened? Oh, everything is nice here. Well, you missed the whole winter, man. It was horrible. I was like, okay.
Your wife's out there struggling. Like,
Crazy. Yeah. And that but now it's like weekends. So might be out Thursday or Friday till Sunday. Like I just did a private gig the other day. I went out, left on Friday and got back yesterday. Could be the whole weekend, Thursday through Sunday or Monday, or it could be one date. So, and then the rest of the week, I say weekend warrior, and then on the weekdays, we just chauffeuring the kids around.
Yeah.
I'm chauffeuring on the weekdays, so I mean,
As you are tonight.
yeah, sure, yeah. There again, and it continues, yeah.
Yeah.
So it makes for a better balance. You see kids grow, and you have your relationship, that you got to cultivate and maintain and all that kind of stuff. So it's a good balance, And I think space is good sometimes. So it's just enough of everything. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah,
And make
for
sure you do stuff together to make sure you strengthen your bond and keep that going. It's really important to have that balance, So yeah, it works much better now.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, every relationship has its growing pains.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. You just got to maintain. It's communication with any relationship, whether. I always say my first marriage was the band because you had 5. I mean,
That was everything.
That is a musical marriage, and it's just like any relationship. And everybody has feelings about this, making decisions together.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Somebody does something you don't like, somebody's up. And I can tell you, men can be just, if not more, sensitive
Yes.
about it's a lot. So,
Yes.
but a beautiful experience nonetheless. I wouldn't have done it any other way. Because it teaches you so much about humanity, human behavior, and learning when to push, when to pull back.
Yeah.
How to speak to people, how to listen. Teaches you how to listen. You know what I mean? So that's what I definitely got from that. So it's a much better, like I said, all in all, with touring and everything, it's a much better deal right now. It just definitely, it's much more balanced. I enjoy this part of it. Yeah.
Is there a what's next for you?
Oh, well, I'm always recording. I have a bunch of stuff. I feel like, I'm sure for everybody this is true. COVID has really put so many things on the back burner, because we didn't know what was going to happen. There were a lot of production things that I put on the back burner as beginning artists, new artists who I've been working on, that I'm going to, reconvene that whole thing. And in the next year or two, you all definitely will be hearing It's a lot of good stuff. Yeah. So I've been doing a lot of few auditions here and there. So the film and TV thing has always been, my thing. I did a little bit of theater when I was younger too.
Okay.
And that's always been there, And,
are you doing anything locally, or you want to be TV?
Well, I would like to do both. I actually, just to get my chops together, is like community theater. I'm not above doing that, because I think I don't want to be the guy who hasn't been doing something. And I got respect for actors and actresses, people who put their work in. I don't want to be coming in just because you do music and you've had this success here doesn't mean, I respect the art too much. So I want to go in knowing my lines, knowing my cues, and just having that instinct. And that takes time to kind of get it together. You can't just, sure, I could go in and, I've had people offer me certain roles. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. First, I'm not ready for it. I just don't want to do it just because I can. You know what I mean?
Have you ever thought about doing stand-up comedy?
No, stand-up, that's just something that happens sometimes. They always say, I do, Dave Chappelle, I run into him every once in a while. I met him like years ago, and he clowned me and my family when he didn't know, in which he still remembers, by the way. He's got a memory like an elephant. It's like, I remember that. Yeah, it's like, yeah, my whole family, he
was just going in.
Going on all of us. I was like, oh my God. And my sister's friend purposely sat us in the front row. You don't go to no black comedy club and go in front row. No. No. Because you will get got, and that's exactly what happened. Do
you remember what he said about you?
Oh, boy, you got on my dad. My dad had on the sailor hat, and they kept calling him Skipper all night. Isn't that right? They say a joke. Yeah, such and such, and hi. Isn't that right, Skipper? I was like, oh, my God. And my cousin had on this old school members only. It was this popular jacket called members only back in the day.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so you're still wearing that, huh? I mean, it went on and on and on and on. And he remembered that. And if I was going to say that, Chappelle would always say, comedians want to be musicians and musicians want to be comedians. You'll always find musicians who are just naturally funny. It's part of it goes with, we're always imitating somebody or something, It's always a fun thing to do. So,
like your Michael Jackson impersonation.
It's funny. I don't mean to do it. I'm trying to get into the
You're
spirit
just so
of
good.
Yeah, I don't know. He's just, he's so impactful like this. Like, man, it's just amazing. I can't believe it. Yeah.
Your Prince impression was good too.
A lot of practice with that. That's hearing him.
You can do some impressions on stage.
Oh my God. Yeah, fun stuff. Yeah.
I think we are okay. So the question we ask on every single podcast is, what does success mean to you?
What does success mean to you? Yeah, 'cause it means different things to different people, for sure. For sure, it's not money. That's number one, because I know most folks equate that to money. I think success to me is being able to balance every single thing in your life at every at every level, because you're at a certain level, right? And things that are hard, things that are great. How do you balance yourself within a family life, business, and then you get to another level of success or failure. Trying to, navigate through that. If you are, I think, really balanced in a way where, your mental health is right. To me, I just call that, it's simple, but I think that's successful. And I think you only know that the older that you get, because you realize how hard it can be, that journey through the way. Because you think that, this is really hard. Like to get in the industry is really hard. Then to have success is really hard. Then to keep it is really hard. Then to balance your personal life on is really hard. you know, and then you have another level of that, and the year goes by, and there's something else, and there's something else. So
Yeah.
you have these challenges the whole way. So I would just say balancing the balancing act at every level. If you can succeed in that without going crazy, I call that success.
Yeah. I mean, without going
Yeah.
crazy, but like
Yeah.
so many times, like you have to realize what you need to lose.
Mm.
Like, because things always fall by the wayside. You got to pick what you lose, though. That's the balance.
Yes.
Mhm.
There you go.
Pick what
Oh
you
my
lose,
God.
I like
That's
that.
perfectly said. Yeah. Absolutely.
I know we're kind of getting a little long on time, but I am also curious, like your setbacks or failures, like how did you really deal with those? If you had any that stand out strongly to you.
There's always, I look at it as perspective now. It's like I can look at it as a failure, or I can look at it as it was a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because some things, you know, what's for you is for you.
Yeah.
And you may think it was for you. Like, I think, you know, when we wanted to be out and thought we should get signed and all that kind of stuff, wasn't the time. We thought it was. And thank God we didn't, because we knew nothing, had nothing. We weren't ready. We wouldn't have been ready for that moment. You know, it was just really, you know, you think you just hyped up off of, you know, whoever you think you are in that moment. It's like, we didn't have enough. We didn't know enough.
Wow.
And that's just, I call it youth juice. You know what I mean? We all, you know, especially if you feel like all right, people are telling you, oh, we're kind of good. And, you know, and you think you got it, but you know, get out in the world and you're like, okay. And one of the things that was really cool for me to see was that Whitney Houston tour.
Yeah.
That was the top of she was it at the time. And I'm seeing that, I'm like, oh, got a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do. Yeah. So, yeah, but there's always going to be setback, not just, in any, just living. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be in music or entertainment or whatever this thing is, you know. It's trying to, again, navigate through, try to figure out what is for you. Those pitfalls, again, it's in everything, you know, who you're hanging around. You know, it's like you trying to, I've always, you know, hung around people that knew as much or, you know, or more, you know, trying to get to that goal. You know, like I said, I was always the youngest person in most of the groups I played in. So there were all these examples, good and bad. So I would try to take those and like, okay, do more of that, less of that. You know, that I'm not so sure about. I don't know yet. I got to research that. So, yeah, there's just trying to be aware as I can. And for me, I had people around me that would kind of pull me, you know, to decide like, look, you may not want to do that, you know. And I've always been kind of a cautious person anyway. So, you know, that spoke to me. So I guess somebody was looking out for me, you know. Yeah.
That's super cool.
I mean, just like the pink or jelly roll, when it's supposed to happen,
When it's supposed to
happen.
There you go. The pink spoke to me, you know.
Patient, 4
Pink
years
sparkling.
to see you again.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely though.
Is there, very lovely. Is there anything we can do to help you out?
Right now, as I always say, you know, hit me on social media, which is Stokely Official. That's on IG or Facebook or the X, you know, formerly Twitter. It's crazy. But yeah, go and try. I'm always posting stuff, you know, shows or what my latest outings are going to be, what I'm doing, who I'm working with, that kind of thing. So, yeah, or go to istokely.com. Yeah, I got hats and some swag on there for you. You know, some T-shirts and whatnot.
All right,
you know,
we'll get
hoodies.
some.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have some swag.
Yeah, absolutely. So I appreciate you all. I appreciate anybody listening, anybody who's interested in what a Stokely is, you know. Who is he? What is this thing?
What
Yeah,
is
so,
Stokely?
and appreciate it. Yeah.
I think you
Glad
gave
to
us a
be here.
great idea, like of who you are, what you stand for, like the hard work that got you the success that you have.
Yeah.
And like, I just have to thank you so much for coming out
Oh,
here.
thank
like,
you.
Like, I'm honored that you were like,
All
yeah,
right.
sure, let's be on it.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm glad to be, really, for sure.
That was
And
cool.
I look forward to the future. I can't wait to in another year or another 6 months where you guys are, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep my eyes on it. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
No, I appreciate. I'm excited to see us grow together.
Oh, beautiful. Lovely. And just congratulations on all of your accomplishments thus far. You told me that you're doing all of your beginnings and whatnot. You know.
Beginnings. We're trying here.
Yeah.
We're grinding out.
Yeah.
Do it. Go ahead.
Everybody, Stokley Williams. Thank you so much for coming.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Success!